Yo, today I want to talk about my opinions on FRU and FRU PF, and the simple answer is just I really hate it. I hate FRU, and I think that FRU PF is actually pretty miserable. In an almost 19-minute fight, there's only 2 minutes that actually requires your brain to be on, and it's two mechanics. It's CT and exo waves. There's no real DPS check in this fight, and that's because Picto, and yeah, I know it's getting nerfed in 7.2, don't worry, can't wait for those changes, but the damage has already been done. And not only that, but there was no real puzzle mechanic, and then the puzzle mechanic was solved by accident. It was just ridiculous. This fight design was very bad, and there have been a lot of egos in PFs since people cleared this fight really quickly because there was no real puzzle, there was no DPS check, and people were basically locking Picto and then locking out all the other jobs. So if you wanted to play Summoner, Red Mage, or Black Mage, you had to be a melee. And then melees were getting locked out, like Sam and Viper, those that were selfish DPS classes. And same with Machinist. Machinist is locked out of basically every P range spot. It's just annoying. Because you can clear this fight with any class, it does not matter. You can clear with a Machinist, you can clear with a Black Mage. The only phase that actually DPS matters is P5. No other phase actually really matters. But it's creating raiders who are actually just lazy or just doing things wrong because they have a Picto and locking out the other jobs. So when they are in a party without a Picto and they can't clear, they just blame others instead of just looking at themselves and trying to improve. For example, not LBing when not meeting DPS checks. Like, tell me if this is something you've experienced, but you're in P2 and you don't have a Picto and the little crystals die slow, so when you get to the big crystal you don't have enough DPS to do it, so usually you ask someone to LB and they're not doing it. And then when we're talking about the LB, they're just melees who are not respecting the prio system. And then for those who don't know what I mean, melees have a prio system for who is supposed to LB, and we'll get into that in a little bit later. But there's also people who are misaligning buffs and not realizing it, and then when someone says something about it, they're just saying, oh, I normally do this. Well, they normally play with a Picto, so it doesn't really matter. People are dumping resources just to get a better parse, and then there's dying because they have no resources a little bit later, and a Picto can't save them. There's also people who care about parsing the fight so much that they belittle other people's in the party and just choose to ignore what other people are saying. There are also lots of people ruining clear for ones and clear for however many, clear for X, clear parties. It's just a lot of people ruining them, and there's also a lot of prog liars and passport Andes. And when I mean passport Andes, I mean people who care nothing but the passport, or they paid to get their passport to an X point. I could go on and on about these because there's an endless amount of examples in PF because it's PF. But I know these points are not just exclusive to FRU. With the high population of raiders in FRU, and FRU being seemed to be like the only raid people are choosing to do at the moment, it's seen more and more, and it's very frustrating to a lot of the people in PF, and making people either quit PF, quit the raid, or just avoid raiding altogether. And these examples are not like crazy things I'm making up, because these are examples that have happened to me or my friends. And most of my experiences I've had in this fight with PF egos is mainly the LB prio system, because they want to parse. Also, since they have a higher parse than another melee or another player, they think that they shouldn't have to LB, not knowing that certain jobs perform certain ways, or etc, etc. But I don't want to get too detailed into that. But you don't have to LB every time. You only need to LB if you think that you can't make the check, and because of that, LB is almost never touched, but if you're not running with a Picto, it might have to be touched. For those who aren't melee DPSs, I'm going to talk a little bit about the melee prio system, so if this becomes a little bit annoying or you don't fully understand, it's okay. But for those who are melees and who don't know what the system is, so if we had to go through the order, it would be Dragoon and Ninja. I actually don't know which one has a higher LB prio between the two. I know that those two are always the LB bitch. And then it's Monk, and then Sam, and then Reaper. And then for 100, it's Viper. Anything lower than 100, I don't know where Viper actually ranges in this because of the way that it sinks down. Because at 100, Viper has a lot of its OG CDs. At 90 and lower, it loses a lot of those OG CDs, and I don't know how that does. If you would like to know, I recommend going to the balance. They have the numbers already sorted out and usually have per fight the LB prio. If it is needed, like I said, it is not needed all the time, but if it is needed, please I recommend that you look at it. It's very helpful. But there are a lot of people who are doing FRU who've never done top, which is the main fight that you actually kind of have to learn the prio system. Crazy enough, because that fight actually has a lot of LBs in it for melees. I think it's 4, and you actually need to know who needs to LB what. But there are just tons of people who just choose to ignore this or don't know about the system, which if you don't know, it's okay, you know, we all learn. But if they're choosing to ignore it and make other people LB for them, it's kind of rough. Because the reason why we have this the LB prio system is just because of the damage, right? There's an X amount of damage each class can put out, and it doesn't really truly matter about your parse as much as it does the class design itself and where the burst is and a lot of that other stuff. But there are just people who are just straight up ignoring it, and people who are begging for the people who have the highest priority to LB, and then them just choosing not to, and it's just ridiculous. People in PF just make me want to stay away from this fight. I was glad I did this fight with a static because they were all pretty cool and amazing raiders, but when I'm raiding in PF, it's just a terrible experience. It has made me really not want to do anything involving this fight, and I honestly hope with the changes in 7.2, FRU becomes a little bit harder, but I know dungeon gear and relics will make it easier, so it's out of the question. I just hope the next ultimate is harder, and maybe people's egos drop, but this fight was barely harder than T, and people were acting like they cleared top on patch. By the way, I did not clear top on patch. I started raiding at the end of Endwalker. I don't know what people are like, but I'm assuming that's what people were like because it's really bad right now and I really don't want to have to deal with these people. I just hope the next ultimate is on the same level as DSR or even closer to top, because this fight was way too easy and it was a mistake. It was fun, but PF makes me hate this fight and I just can't do this fight anymore. Once I get all my totems, I'm done. I don't even want to help people clear this fight because this fight sucks. I liked helping people clear fights. I like how people progging this fight. I love doing the fights I like. I love doing all the older ultimates. I like doing some of the older savages. But God, PF has made me hate this fight, and I am probably never gonna touch this fight ever again. Which makes me sad because I liked helping people. But it's just bad. It's just bad. I'm just gonna, if I do come back to this fight, I'm just gonna wait till like all the people are like done either A, farming it, or B, maybe the people's egos are gone and they realize that this fight was not that hard and they just need to take a chill pill, and maybe the parsers might just disappear when 7.2 drops and go parse savage instead of an ultimate. Yeah, I'm just done with this fight. I thought it was cool, but I hate more. I'm gonna go keep playing DSR and I'm keep doing top because I actually have fun in those ultimates. Yeah. Anyway, see ya.